Like the title implies, we are going to be breaking down all of Terunofuji's matches from the previous basho, which, he didn't win his Yusho in exciting fashion, but the fact that he won it still means that he is, someone to be reckoned with. It's unusual to say that, Yokozuna's Yusho was under the radar, but when you consider when you consider the Banzuke, and when you consider, the day-to-day of what was happening up to that point, we can actually go, day by day on the Torikumi. He loses day 1, which we're going to see in a little bit. Day 2, he's obviously not on top. We still have a lot of other people undefeated. Day 3, day 4, there's a small group of people undefeated. Day 4, Terunofuji's, 3-1 at that point. Day 5, still a group of people undefeated. Day 6, it's Aoyama, and that's when Terunofuji loses again. So at that point, people have already written him off. Day 7, day 8, day 9, he was always in the hunt, but he was never, the guy people were talking about. And thank you, Killer Brian, for your redeem. But anyway, my point is, Terunofuji, he was always down but not out this tournament. He had 3 losses on his tournament by day 7. He was what, 4-3, 5-3? Oh wait, no, he lost on day 8. So he was 5-3 after the first week. So people thought, geez, what's going to happen here? I guess Terunofuji isn't winning the tournament, but the entire time he was always, in that hunt group, 1 win behind. And then, of course, the day finally comes. Takanosho has that 1-win lead, loses it, tied on the final few days, and then bam, it's Terunofuji, and he wins it over Mitakeumi, which, funnily enough, the Yokozuna Decision Committee was upset with the fact that Terunofuji was matched against an Ozeki who, quote, had nothing to gain, because he had already attained his losing record. So the fact that it wasn't more exciting on day 15, some people were very upset about that. But we will get there when we get there, and first things first, we are going to be watching the first match of the tournament for Terunofuji, which is going to be a not-so-shocking loss to Daisho. Lately, Daisho has been his kind of kryptonite in the sense that, Terunofuji incredibly weak to that full frontal assault straight at his face and neck, which, that doesn't sound like a groundbreaking statement. Yeah, when he gets punched in the face, he tends to lose. It's, oh, wow. What else? But, if we do want to look at it, since Terunofuji's return, it has been back and forth between these two. And actually, the most 2 recent times, including this one, Daisho would win. So let's watch this match at full speed. Then, of course, like we always do, we will break it down step by step. Not that the step by step is going to be that complicated. Terunofuji versus Daisho. See, Daisho goes straight up into the neck. Terunofuji can't really just handle it. And it's a straight up Daisho win. So you could actually take a look back, and from the Tachi-ai, Terunofuji was just not in a good position. You could see it almost immediately. Terunofuji gives up the inside, because he does prefer that outside grip. Terunofuji does prefer the Morozashi. He likes, getting those outside arms on the belt so he can control his opponent. But Daisho just goes straight up into his face. Right here, we could see Terunofuji steps wide stance, this left foot forward, which, very fair, nice wide stance. My camera kind of cuts off his other foot. But you see him bringing around the arm so he could try to go for the belt. But Daisho is countering that with a straight, spear right through his chest, popping Terunofuji up, and you're going to see that in just a minute. Pops up Terunofuji immediately, and Terunofuji, like I said earlier, wants the Morozashi, but he can't get it. You could see him trying to bend his arms in so he can try to grab underneath Daisho's arms, but Daisho is not letting it happen. Terunofuji takes a few steps back. His footing is still pretty solid, but at this point, again, trying to go for this outside grip is just not the move. He needs to try to break the inside from Daisho, which in a lot of cases you'll see a sumo wrestler bring up their arm, like this arrow implies. They'll bring up their arm to try to parry or counter that inside push, but Terunofuji never has the opportunity to do that. He's still on his back foot, losing some of his balance here and trying to keep his foot where it is. Now, you saw him bring his foot up from here and then put it back down here. I think if he takes a bigger step back, he can bring his entire body back, like shift his weight backwards even further, and then bring himself low again, because that would give him enough space to try to, dodge this attack. But because he tries to recover immediately where he's standing right here, like his back foot isn't even on the Tawada, I think he puts himself in a worse position here because he's not giving himself room to breathe. And that's when he finally does get the grip underneath the arm right here, but at this point, like, it's just too little too late. And Daisho is the one with the stronger push. We can even see Daisho. Look at these strong, low center of gravity, nice low stance, those knees nice and bent. He is pushing straight up into this massive chest of Terunofuji, chest to chest, just going for that push out. And Terunofuji, you can see his toe right back here. His toe right here is going to slip into the dirt, which, again, I think if he allowed himself a little bit more room, then he would have had a better chance here. He would have been able to recover on the Tawada, which is not really Terunofuji's style. Terunofuji is usually the one to just win off the Tachi-ai. But when he does lose like this, I think he needs to afford himself a little bit more room and a little bit more defensive effort. Because we can see it full speed again. Trying to maintain his footing from where he is. But he had room. He had room behind him to defend. Which he just doesn't, he might not have considered, or maybe he thought, this is where I can turn it around. But in the end, that is Terunofuji's first loss. And then from this moment, this is when he starts going under the radar. His second match is against Takayasu, which is usually a pretty good rivalry match. But like we're going to see, just a few more matches to get through. Like we're going to see, it is not nearly as exciting as we were hoping for. Takayasu from the position of Maegashira 1 really struggled this basho, went 6-9, which is about as people predicted. Definitely not Ozeki caliber anymore. Terunofuji, on the other hand, coming into this head-to-head, we can even look at it. They are 12-12, and that sounds like it's good. Up until you see, oh, Terunofuji has been defeating Takayasu for a year straight. From May of 2021 all the way to now, May of 2022, Terunofuji has been destroying Takayasu in the head-to-head. And let's see how he does it. Takayasu down and inviting Terunofuji to charge. Terunofuji gets the good push forward, gets the inside right underneath the arm, blocking the outside left from Takayasu from doing anything. From here, he gets the grip on the belt. His own outside left is not really doing much, but Takayasu tries to retreat to get a better grip. Terunofuji still controlling, but he allows Takayasu to get the inside. He switches to the Morozashi and gets the drag down. What is up, Josh? I hope you're having a good night. So there it was a bit back and forth, but I felt that the entire time through, Terunofuji was the one that had the clear advantage. If you want to see it from the beginning, Terunofuji gets his hands inside. He gets the power he needs where it needs to be. Right here, it's kind of unusual because you can see his outside right is where it wants to be. And I think if he just goes for the belt here, then that's the favorable position he wants. He's much lower today than he was yesterday. Today he is like much lower going into Takayasu than he was yesterday against Daisho. And that does help him get that initial good push off, which right here, he's going to create distance between himself and Takayasu. And this is where Terunofuji pursues him a little recklessly, though. Like, you could see his footing was not the best on that pursuit angle. Like, he kind of wildly threw himself into that pursuit because you saw him, you know, pick up his foot, take a big awkward step, and then replant it. Whereas a lot of times a sumo wrestler will just slowly like shuffle their feet forward when they're pursuing their opponent. Here though, Takayasu, he does what he usually tries to do when he leans that shoulder into the chest of his opponent to try to keep his opponent at an odd angle. But Terunofuji here knows it's coming, takes the step back, and gets the right hand inside to stop that awkward angle from happening. So now what's happening is that Terunofuji, he's using this inside right to push up and away Takayasu's arm. And you could see Takayasu's arm is going up and away, sliding up Terunofuji's back. It was down here, now it's all the way up here, and it's going to keep going until it's not even making contact with his body anymore. Terunofuji reaching for the belt, kind of doesn't get it right there, and we can see Takayasu trying to go for the inside grip here. We can see him pulling away the arm, trying to reach it inside, but Terunofuji very smartly uses that shoulder. He leans the shoulder down so that Takayasu can't switch the grip to that double inside. There's going to be a lot of artifacting like that because VLC kind of sucks. But this is where we see Terunofuji gets up underneath the armpit, really digging in that inside right, has the advantage here. I think very clearly has the advantage here. Takayasu doesn't look like he's in a comfortable spot. Terunofuji, his hips are slightly lower. You could see that his knees are slightly more bent compared to Takayasu, who this back foot is pretty straight, which means Takayasu is using that, like trying to use it as pressure on the ground to get some leverage. And this is where Terunofuji pushing forward now, getting the grip on the belt. Takayasu trying to block it. Terunofuji doesn't let him block it, gets that low grip. And here, great pursuit by Terunofuji. This time he doesn't take a big awkward step, and you saw it as Takayasu was pulling away. Terunofuji swings the hip, he swings the foot around, he keeps those knees low, he keeps those knees bent, he keeps his stature down, and he keeps the pressure on. Because when you lift up your feet, you're losing a lot of pressure on the ground, which means you're losing a lot of momentum. But when you keep your feet on the ground, you're pushing forward, you're shuffling forward, and you're keeping your footing stable so that you don't fall over. What Takayasu was trying to go for there was, you know, a classic pulling technique. He was trying to pull away, and you could see him lifting his arm over here. If Terunofuji wasn't ready for that, this arm goes straight to the back, goes for the slap down Katasakashi. But because Terunofuji kept his hips low, kept his feet low, kept his balance, kept his stability, and Takayasu's, you know, attempt at that pull doesn't work. So from here, Takayasu, we could see, trying to go for this outside grip again. Terunofuji has him at the edge. Terunofuji is the one to actually take a few steps backwards here. Terunofuji allowing himself the space. And I think we can't see it from here, but I think he's trying to get a grip on that left outside as well. Which, when he does go for that, this allows, yeah, you can see him pulling around that inside right. He pulled Takayasu all the way over here so he could get a better chance at that outside left. This, however, allows Takayasu the chance to get his own inside left right there. But that's also the kill shot for Terunofuji, because even though he doesn't complete the outside grip, Takayasu is making himself, like, he's standing himself up to get this shot at the inside left. He had to pull his shoulder, instead of his shoulders being down, he had to pull his shoulders up so he can lift his arm up and in and try to then go back down and reach down for the belt, which puts him in this awkward standing position, which is why switching the grip is usually a very bad move. And even though it almost works here, Terunofuji almost has that outside left locked in as well, which when you have both of the outside hands on the belt, you're kind of locking your opponent's arms in. Like, we can't kind of see it right here, but when you have both of your hands on the belt, there's not much room for Takayasu's arms. They're being locked down and in, which you can't really get much leverage there because your arms are not going to be bent in the proper way. So you can, try to lift up because they're too busy being straight. You can't, when you try to pick something up with your straight arms, it has to come purely from the lower body. And when we see that, Takayasu's hips far too high. So even when he tries to go for this move, it is not favorable for him at all in the slightest.
Takayasu trying to switch the grip to get the...
And even though Takayasu does eventually get the push-up, this is where Terunofuji likes to be anyway. So Takayasu thinks, oh, I have the advantage, I have the double inside. But Terunofuji gets the Morozashi grip around those elbows. You can see arm around the elbow, and that goes exactly to what I was saying before. Those arms that need to be bent for Takayasu to get some leverage are now being pushed straight. So he can't get anything with these arms. Sure, he has the grip on the belt, but he needs to lower those shoulders and he needs to dig down so his elbows can get underneath these forearms of Terunofuji. And if he gets underneath those forearms, then he'll be able to get those arms bent down, pick up, and then push forward. But that's not what Takayasu is going to get here. Instead, Takayasu is going to get pushed forward because, look, those arms are not doing anything. This arm, perfectly straight, not on the belt at all. Takayasu struggling to survive, flailing right arm, and then from here, gets perfectly dragged down by Terunofuji. So like I said, Terunofuji had pretty much full control over the entire match. It might not have looked it at stages, but that was all kind of according to plan. Because we can watch it at full speed again. Terunofuji gets the inside right grip, gives it up on purpose to go for that outside grip later on in the fight, constantly on the push forward, his retreat backwards to the center of the ring, tactical, allowing Takayasu to get into a false sense of security. Right here, gets the grip, blocking Takayasu's inside, can't do anything with that outside left either. Terunofuji in a similar position, but he has the inside right, and he has more leverage there. Takayasu giving up more leverage to Terunofuji there on that pullback, going for the switched grip. Doesn't work because he can't get a grip on the belt.
Terunofuji, though, the double outside drags Takayasu to the ground.
Dragged to the ground. Like I said, and that is great win for Terunofuji there. Coming into day 3, his opponent, Kiribayama. And we're going to see a very unusual Kimarite being employed here. Well, not this one. Let's see. Here we go. Up against Kiribayama, we're going to see the Kimarite known as Kirikaeshi, which I don't even remember what that means. But basically, Terunofuji is 7-0 in this head-to-head. And the way Kiribayama likes to fight, I've said this before, Kiribayama likes to fight like he is Terunofuji. He likes to fight that Yotsu style. He likes to fight, grip on the belt. And he's kind of like a worse Chiyonofuji. But, at the same time, Chiyonofuji had his stumbles up until he was the greatest Yokozuna of all time. So, Kiribayama trying to go for the grip against the biggest man in the division. Trying to go for throws. Can't exactly get them. And that's exactly the style Terunofuji likes to eat up. What's up, Sane? How are you doing tonight? Yeah, from this match, we all know that Terunofuji wins it. Oops. Terunofuji going... Oh, we're supposed to watch this at full speed first. Terunofuji getting the grip on the arm outside, a little awkward for him as Kiribayama tries to push forward, but Terunofuji has that long inside left on the belt, locking down Kiribayama's inside left onto his own chest. Now Terunofuji fighting for the double inside, gets it, throws Kiribayama to the ground. So from here, You can kind of see just from the very beginning, and sorry for this, when I go over the game capture, it does this. That's my bad. But Terunofuji gets the good initial charge. He lowers his left shoulder, but Kiribayama kind of plays into that. Kiribayama goes straight for that inside grip onto the belt and immediately gets it. So now Terunofuji kind of has to fight from the back foot. Terunofuji trying to block that inside left and does. And this is where you're going to see Terunofuji looks like he's in an awkward spot because Kiribayama wants the grip on the belt. Terunofuji says, "Nuh-uh, you're not going to grip my belt." He grabs the arm and drags it up into his armpit. So now Kiribayama can't do anything with that. They're both kind of stood up at this Tachi-ai. Like if you see like just how high their hips and shoulders are, they're both pretty stood up here. Like that charge popped them both straight up. So you know that was a great charge. But here, this is where they finally, regain good footing. We have Terunofuji, nice wide stance, low hips, saggy belly. We have Kiribayama trying to dig that inside left around the back because Terunofuji blocking that with this big outside right, just keeping Kiribayama away from his own belt. We kind of don't see what's going on the other side, but we know they're both fighting for this inside. Terunofuji has that inside left, trying to fight against Kiribayama, who's trying to keep a grip on the belt over there, or at least trying to get a grip on the belt. We can see it coming up underneath, and if Kiribayama is able to secure this grip on the belt, that does mean a little bit of danger for Terunofuji because that's double inside, and he doesn't have a good Morozashi grip. Now, the Morozashi, said it a bunch of times, for those of you who don't know, it's basically a double grip, like, I'll draw it out for you. It's like if your arms are like this, here's a cool cucumber. Your arms are like this. Morozashi is when your opponent grips around your arms and can pick you up like that. And that's what Kiribayama is trying to avoid. That's why we see him digging so hard for this inside. That way, even if he does give up a double outside grip, Terunofuji is not going to have those arms locked in, and Terunofuji won't be able to grip this inside arm by picking him up. What's up, Dober? Now, from here, again, Kiribayama fighting for that inside. We're going to see them really fighting for it here. Terunofuji trying to go for the throw almost immediately, and we do see Kiribayama's arm was picked up and lifted off of that belt. This is where the view fixes itself, but now it's the other way around. Terunofuji is fighting for that inside left on the belt, and this is exactly where Kiribayama doesn't want him because he doesn't want to exchange these grips. He knows he can't win if Terunofuji has inside left, outside right, even if that outside right is not on the belt. Now, if Kiribayama from here, he can lock in this grip on the belt and stop Terunofuji from doing this on the inside, he might have a chance, but from here, Terunofuji already has the advantage. And now Kiribayama, you can see him shuffling around, trying to get Terunofuji in a more awkward angle, but Terunofuji is calmly pivoting himself around, going, pivoting his hips, staying on his toes, and even when Kiribayama goes for this push, he has the better, chest straight up into the chest and shoulders of Terunofuji. You can see him like just straight on box going straight up into this Terunofuji, who has to try to dig his shoulder down, which isn't low enough to stop the charge. So he is getting a lot of leverage against him. Terunofuji counters this, plants this back foot really strong, planted nice right into the ground. And I've mentioned it in a lot of the other videos I've said in the past, but with this foot fanned out like this, there's more surface area. There's more friction pushing up against the side of his foot there. You might not think it matters, but it does. It's physics. And this is where Terunofuji stops Kiribayama from making that charge. Still in a really awkward spot, keeping this hand completely indisposed, basically not forfeiting this outside right, but saying like, I'm going to use the outside right to completely lock you out of using your inside left. This is defensive. Terunofuji fighting for this inside, while Kiribayama still tries to wrestle forward. This is where Terunofuji finds his in. Terunofuji, when Kiribayama pulls that left arm away, he pulled the left arm down to try to go for another double inside. Terunofuji lets him do that so he can then use this right arm offensively. And now Kiribayama is the one to give up that inside left because now he needs to fight off Terunofuji. Terunofuji now has both of his hands in an awkward spot. They're double inside, but they're a not good enough double inside because they're very tight in on each other. Now, if Kiribayama was the size of Terunofuji, then this would be a major problem for Terunofuji. But because Kiribayama is not that big and not that strong, Terunofuji can simply use his overwhelming strength to fight through this. Whereas if Kiribayama was like Terunofuji, he would be doing that grip I was talking about earlier, the Morozashi grip, just straight gripping him around those arms and lifting him up that way. But Kiribayama, being smaller, has to try to fight differently. Now he needs to break this inside grip on Terunofuji. You would think maybe right here he tries to go for a pull, but Terunofuji's footing looks pretty solid. He is leaned very far forward. Like, look at his back is kind of like parallel to the ground. So I think if Kiribayama were to go for a pull here, Terunofuji would have to make a very large step forward to try to save himself. And when that happens, awkward footing, off balance, Kiribayama might have been able to go for the win here. But because I don't think he recognizes that, he tries to keep fighting forward, and this is what really gives Terunofuji the inside. But Kiribayama puts himself in an awkward spot. This is kind of like an all or nothing spot here. He's giving up. Like, Terunofuji has his shoulder underneath, or rather he's going to get it underneath Kiribayama's armpit, and that's going to get him a shitload of leverage. Kiribayama, you could see him put this left leg inside. He is trying a throw here. Kiribayama is trying to twist Terunofuji this way to try to throw him. Oh, I accidentally painted that yellow. Trying to twist him so he could throw him over this leg, but that just straight up won't work. Like, look at this tree of a man. It doesn't work, and because it doesn't work, Terunofuji gets the hand straight to the chest and throws him down. And like I said, too, look at where Terunofuji's left shoulder is when Kiribayama goes for this attack. It's going to be straight underneath his own arm, and then he just uses that to lean over and charge him down to the ground. Another win for Terunofuji. A hard-fought battle by Kiribayama, which all of his fights against Terunofuji are very hard-fought, but he just never can pull off the win, which is, it sucks. I can't really say much else, but, he just doesn't have the strength to really take down Terunofuji. Going into day 4, Terunofuji 2-1. Like I mentioned, he is in that chase group, and he is going up against a young man, not exactly a rookie anymore, but someone who is still young and on the scene in Kotonowaka, which we have to skip through these matches first. It's a very small sample size between these two, but Kotonowaka, his inexperience against the Yokozuna definitely shows in this match. Oops. I don't actually remember, but we're already getting into the match, the final match of the day. Kotonowaka, can you earn this gold star? Terunofuji gets the inside. Kotonowaka trying to retreat from it, but Terunofuji already has him at the edge and earns the Yorikiri. So, a nice fast match. But still, even though it's very fast, a lot of small things happen here. You can see right off the Tachi-ai, Terunofuji, he always goes for this step. You could probably see it in a video that I made 6 months ago. He always goes for this left foot forward, pointing out, his back foot getting him the leverage that he needs. And that always gives him a nice, stable base to start from. He catches Kotonowaka here, and you can see this right arm underneath the left inside of Kotonowaka, preemptively blocking, also maybe trying to go for the belt. It's a good place to put your hands so that you can do both. Similar to when I broke down Takanosho's matches a couple of months ago, and I will be doing next week probably. He always tries to put his hands in a position where they can be offensive or defensive depending on what his opponent does. That's kind of what Terunofuji does here. He shifts his shoulders to the left. He moves his body in a way that he puts his hands in a position where they can do whatever he needs them to do. So right here, it's initially defensive. We can see Kotonowaka going up for the face and Terunofuji using his hand to parry that inside attack, which I wish he would do against Yusho. And there, because he parried the attack, now he has the inside right. And now he's going to use that hand for offense. Pushing forward, gets the inside right on the belt, and from here, Kotonowaka is kind of pulling him around, taking him on a spin, but Terunofuji, his footing is still very stable. Kotonowaka doesn't really have the power to make Terunofuji do his bidding. And from here again, Kotonowaka, what he tried to do was what Terunofuji was just doing in the last match. He pulls up this arm to try to make Terunofuji's inside left useless because it's not going to be on the belt anymore. But what he didn't consider is the fact that this is the Yokozuna. All he needs to do is go chest to chest, push forward, and we can even see here he's going for this outside left. And when he does manage to grab that, yep, gets it right there. Even though Kotonowaka has that inside right on the belt, he doesn't have the strength. And he definitely doesn't have the space behind him to be able to do anything about this. He is very far on the edge, on the defensive already. Terunofuji, the one pushing forward, has all the momentum going forward. And, you know, if this was in the middle of the ring, if he did this move to try to lock down Terunofuji's left or right inside in the middle of the ring, then maybe there's a different fight on our hands. But because, like, this is a kind of last-second desperation type thing to make Terunofuji uncomfortable, it just straight up doesn't work. Kotonowaka tries to fight it off, but knows he is defeated, takes a step backwards, and that's the third win for the Yokozuna. So not too much of a complicated bout there. Kotonowaka showing that he does have some of the smarts, but he just needs some more of the strength, which, you know, it's going to be really hard to get it at this stage. Might be, unfortunately, one of those things where he needs to basically wait for him to retire before he can ascend to the Yokozuna throne. Let's see. Here on day 5, Terunofuji's opponent is Hokutofuji, who, to be real, didn't expect Hokutofuji to stand a chance. Terunofuji gets another unusual Kimerite here in the Kime Taoshi. Now, usually a Taoshi means like a crush out or a crush down, or basically ends with the his opponent on his back. So, I don't know what Kime part of that is, but we will find out when Terunofuji gets this win here. Now, the reason why Hokutofuji I had no faith in defeating Terunofuji here is because his style is very one-dimensional, and it's a style that Terunofuji counters very well. He goes charging headlong straight into the Tachi-ai, and then tries to, you know, go for Yotsu afterwards after a good initial push. Terunofuji is just so big that he just catches Hokutofuji, and the match is over from there. That's usually how it happens. So, let's see if that story is the same as always. And I appreciate you enjoying my commentary. Terunofuji catching Hokutofuji. Hokutofuji trying to retreat, but Terunofuji sits him down on his booty. I guess that's a Kime Taoshi. So again, another short match, not really too much to break down here.
Enjoying my commentary.
Right there, Hokuto Fuji does take a nice wide step to the left to try to get the outside left on the belt, which doesn't work and kind of plays right into Terunofuji, because now Terunofuji has the inside right. Oh, look at that, it's right on the belt. I think I'm gonna grab that, and then I think I'm gonna walk forward because my thighs are bigger, and even though I have robots for knees, he's just stronger. Like, I don't understand how this man is so friggin' strong. Like, Jesus. Hokuto Fuji does try to do the thing that Kotonowaka just did yesterday, and what Kiribayama also tried to do, where you try to hold this hand hostage in your armpit, but Terunofuji is just walking it forward. He's walking it forward. Hokuto Fuji can't really do anything about it, because Terunofuji, I mean, at this point, it's not really technique, it's just power. And at this point, it's just Terunofuji being stronger. Terunofuji has, the left arm up and over Hokuto Fuji's, holding Hokuto Fuji's right arm hostage. His right arm is inside, and, for all intents and purposes, you look at this, he's higher center of gravity. Hokuto Fuji just has, like, a better angle when it comes to trying to push into him, but Terunofuji is just stronger, and you're definitely not wrong about that, funnel cake. We want to compare sizes between Terunofuji and Hokuto Fuji. Terunofuji, 191 centimeters, 173 kilograms. Hokuto Fuji, 182 centimeters, 158 kilograms. So he has 10 centimeters and 15 kilos on this guy. He's just bigger. He is just stronger. He just pushes him back and then doesn't get the throw here, but he has stable footing. Well, now he doesn't, but Hokuto Fuji was the one being thrown there. Even if Hokuto Fuji were to recover from this point, Terunofuji is recovering just as better, obviously. And then Hokuto Fuji gets sat down on his rump.
Hokuto Fuji right on
So
his butt.
again, it's kind of annoying to say, especially if you're looking for high-end analysis, but it's well, this is the analysis. He's just stronger. He just is better. He's just bigger. He's bigger, faster, and stronger too. He's the first member of the Yoko crew. Huh. Teru. No Fuji. I'm a jackass. Here we have another not so shocking upset. Spoiler alert for this match. Terunofuji versus Tamawashi. Now, strangely enough, Tamawashi has had Terunofuji's number in the past 3 basho. Up until this point, it was a healthy back and forth until 2020 when Terunofuji made his return. Tamawashi was in the top division for the 3 years that Terunofuji was gone due to injury, and it was all Terunofuji from July of 2020 all the way to September of 2021. But the last 3 tournaments, it's been all Tamawashi, and it's most likely because Tamawashi, that veteran sense, he is no slouch either. He's very smart. I mean, there's a reason why he's in the running for the most consecutive bouts as a sumo wrestler in history. So he definitely knows what he's doing. I think he solved Terunofuji. And that's probably what happens. He's just smarter. He knows exactly what to do against the Yokozuna. But I mean, that doesn't exactly help him against everybody else. Well, the gold stars are nice for the salary. Going straight inside to the left, going straight up to the face. And that's it. Terunofuji generated no power. Terunofuji, he looked like Hokuto Fuji from yesterday. What happened here? Let's watch it full speed again.
Going for a slap to the face, and that does.
Terunofuji just gives up a better inside push to Tamawashi. And it's one off the Tachi. There's not much else to say here. Terunofuji goes for a very strange slap to the head, which maybe that was an audible by him to try to be like, oh, I got to figure out Tamawashi. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to slap him in the head. But Tamawashi is just like, I'm going to go inside. And when you give me that inside, I'm going to win. Like, again, he slapped. That was such a light slap to the head. It didn't do anything. And then he was just completely caught off. Every single match so far, Terunofuji has done this big step forward with that left foot. Now look at where his left foot is. It's all the way back there. Where's that offense? Where's that drive? You weren't pushing forward. You didn't do any of that. You gave up the Tachi, and because you gave up the Tachi, well, now we have low shoulders, nice hips, driving straight through. Like, there's nowhere to go but backwards for Terunofuji. He just did not do the Tachi, and he lost because of it. Like, right here, he loses. Tamawashi driving forward. Terunofuji does have good footing to try to, regain some of this stability, but he's already being pushed as hard back as he can be. And then picked up by the face, gets him up on one foot. It's all over. So, how did Terunofuji lose this? He didn't show up at the Tachi, basically. And give me 1 second. Had to give the fiance her goodnight kisses. Yeah, this one is just straight and simple. Terunofuji didn't do the Tachi like he normally does. Not too much else to analyze there. He didn't take that step forward. Here we go. Into the next match, Terunofuji versus Endo, which, if Terunofuji were struggling, then this might have been a more exciting match, considering what happened not even a year ago, where Endo actually nearly forced a playoff between himself and Terunofuji, and I think it was Takakeisho at the time. But that was also the last time Endo defeated Terunofuji, back on day 14 of May 2021. So, Terunofuji has only been beating him since then. Terunofuji probably figured out what to do against Endo. And let's see what happens here in this match, as I take a drink of water. Remember to stay hydrated, folks. Water is key. Need a water sponsorship. Here we go. Endo Terunofuji. Endo getting the double inside, but that is the Morozashi grip for Terunofuji. Nearly lost off the Tachi there, but now Endo going for something else, getting slapped down. So that's actually a very interesting match right there, in the way it just played out the entire way. Let's watch it full speed again. Just much better Tachi for Endo this time, but Terunofuji actually fights it off, not like he did against Tamawashi yesterday. And then Endo attempts the pullback move, which does not work against Terunofuji. And from there, Terunofuji gets a better grip and wins the match. So what happens from the very start? Terunofuji, first of all, actually gets this step forward. Okay, already better than yesterday. What else happens here? This right hand that he usually uses to either parry or go for that outside right. Well, it's where it's supposed to be. How does the rest of the Tachi go wrong for him? Well, I think it's because his face is currently getting popped right up by that shoulder of Endo. You can see lower charge for Endo, and even though Terunofuji is a much bigger man, that much more leverage. And we could see Endo, he took a nice, he took a very big step forward. His foot is almost completely over the line over there. You can only imagine that his knees are bent. He's driving forward like he is, he's basically doing mountain climbers. If you've ever done that workout, doing mountain climbers against this mountain of a man, Terunofuji, right now. So just gets the big initial charge that actually pops Terunofuji up on one leg. He hops back a couple of times, and now Terunofuji has to try to go for this throw to get Endo off balance, which this is a favorable grip for him, although he is not in a favorable position. I talked about this earlier, the Morozashi around the arms to try to nullify the fact that he's got the double inside, because now these arms are straight. Sure, he might be hugging Terunofuji around the back, but he's not getting them on the belt, which means he's not getting any leverage over Terunofuji's hips, which means he's not controlling Terunofuji. What's happening here is just he needs to keep pushing forward to try to drive Terunofuji off balance. But what Terunofuji does to offset this is he brings back his right foot, gets to the side, and then uses this to throw Endo off balance. So he's tilting his shoulders, he's swung his hips around, he's swung his feet around, and he's using all this momentum to try to drag Endo around this way, which does assuage the attack. Now Endo doesn't have any of that forward momentum anymore. Now they have to start from scratch on this push again, which you could still argue Endo has good position. He does have those shoulders lower. He does have his knees bent, and he is still driving forward straight into the chest of the Yokozuna. So he still does have the advantage here. But Terunofuji does it again, and this time more violently. He pulls away that right arm. You can see an even bigger twist of the hips, twist of the shoulders. This is a true throw, trying to use all of that momentum, that forward momentum that Endo had. He's trying to use it against him, but we can kind of see here that he doesn't have a good grip underneath the arm. If this hand was turned inside and underneath the arm, then maybe he gets it. But you could also say, well, Endo puts this leg up behind Terunofuji so he can catch the knee on Terunofuji's ass, which there isn't much padding on Terunofuji's ass. And he kind of does that. He catches his thigh on Terunofuji's knee, which saves him a little bit. It saves him enough that he can regain his footing, and now they're starting from scratch again. Terunofuji nearly got the throw, but Endo saved himself. Starting on the push again, Endo, now he's standing a little too high, and now Terunofuji has the good footing here. He's got the knee blocking the frontal assault. He has the foot back, so he has stability back there. This is a dangerous defense, but he also has his hips square, and he also has his shoulders square. So he's just full-on brick walling, stopping this attack from Endo. And from here, Endo tries to go for the pull now. We can see him, he brings his shoulders lower. We can see his shoulders up here going down. He's going for the pull on this shoulder. He's trying to pull down right now. He's trying to pull down and pull back so he can bring around his left hand to go slap on the back Kataskashi. But that's not going to work here. Terunofuji kept his footing, and now Endo lost the grip around Terunofuji's torso. So now Terunofuji is the one on the push. He's the one that gets the inside left on the belt, and from here, Endo doesn't really have much else going for him. Tries to go for a pull attack again, but he slips backwards, falls forward, and Terunofuji takes the win. So a very, very nice match here. Probably one of the more well-fought matches just in general of the tournament, but because it kind of ended not so dramatically, I didn't include it in my top 10 list, which if you guys haven't seen it already, go to my YouTube channel. You can watch my top 10 matches of the Natsu Basho, as well as an update on the lower division men who are being promoted to and demoted from 3rd division, 4th division, and so on. And if you're already watching this VOD on YouTube, be sure to check out my other videos. Just click on my channel face and have fun watching some more sumo content. Going into day 8 of the tournament, Terunofuji, okay, he's still 5-2. He's, looking good. He's definitely not looking bad. But he, like I mentioned earlier, he's kind of being overshadowed by the fact that there are so many other people ahead of him in the race, and the fact that he's already lost twice. So people kind of writing him off. People are saying like, oh, nah, he's done. He's washed. He's going up against, if he really wants the chance to redeem himself here, he's going to need it against Takanosho. Takanosho, hey, he's 5-2 as well. Was a Sekiwake for a year, so, definitely no slouch. And, I like to hype up Takanosho too, because that's my fiance's favorite sumo wrestler, and I say, hey, the head-to-head is technically, well, before this match, it was 6-4. Just ignore the fact that Terunofuji is on a 6-match win streak, and then here, Takanosho gets it, and we have to see how he gets it. The first win against Terunofuji in a year and a half. The last time Takanosho defeated Terunofuji, they were both Sekiwake back in January of 2021. So let's see what Terunofuji, or what goes wrong for Terunofuji in this match. Terunofuji gets the hand straight to the face. And he just loses the Tachi again.
A quick and easy win for the Nobu dog to earn his...
So, I mean, even full speed again, what happens? Let's take a look at Terunofuji gets the left foot forward this time.
Takanosho gets it!
But Takanosho just had the better push. Hand to the face, similar to Daisho, similar to Tamawashi. And even though Terunofuji actually put that left foot forward, just he doesn't like hands on his neck, I guess. One thing to note here too, and this is something that I covered in an older Takanosho video. I mentioned every single Tachi, left foot forward, right hand, right here. Oh, where's his right hand? All the way over here. What happened? Well, what happened was, and is somewhat of Takanosho's specialty, he usually initially leans a little bit to the left so he can go right hand to the face, left hand low to the chest. But what Takanosho did this time was he used this elbow to block the right hand of Terunofuji. So now Terunofuji's, his hand kind of acting as a floater to see if it can go offense or defense. Now it's taken out of the picture. And now Takanosho has two hands, high and inside, going straight for the face, everything driving forward up into Terunofuji, and half of his defense is gone. This right hand being nowhere near the body, gone. Now, he does slap up that hand away, but this looks like it's in Takanosho's plan. He already has that hand to the face, which is being blocked by Abema's thing up here. And he's already got this hand primed for another attack. It's a gun, cocked, loaded, ready, and it's going to go boom. Terunofuji getting black. Gets that left hand up inside. And Terunofuji, this is dug way too deep. And like I mentioned earlier about that Morozashi grip, usually you want it around the elbows so you can lock the arms into straight lines. But this time, Takanosho, he is his own shoulder into the armpit. Exactly what Terunofuji did to Kiribayama just a couple of days ago. Shoulder up in the armpit. That's so much driving force, so much energy just being pushed right up into there, forcing Terunofuji backwards and around. And although Terunofuji does try to recover, using that right arm defensively and getting the grip on the outside left, Takanosho is lower. He has more leverage. He has more power in this instance. And, once Terunofuji is up on one foot, he has no stability and he's going to fall. And right there, he steps out. So this throw at the end doesn't really matter. It's a Yorikiri win for Takanosho. The throw at the end was most likely because Terunofuji thought he was still in, didn't realize that he stepped out. And, if he did keep that foot on the Tawada, a lot of things are different. But, Terunofuji, you could say that that's a blunder at the end was his own fault because a lot of these matches between Takanosho and Terunofuji get to the edge like that and then end up with a throw like that because Takanosho can't get the kill shot. But this time he does get the kill shot. This time he gets it. And we can see Kisano Sato does not look pleased over here. You can see this grumpy adult man doesn't seem too pleased with the results. Either that or he's thinking like, I'm going to go home tonight. Wife's going to make me some chanko. It's going to be great. Finally get out of here. Get to go back to the new Nishono Sekibeya, which is a fantastic facility, by the way. We can talk at length about that some other time. But right now, we got to move on to day 9. And it is kind of at this point in the tournament that we kind of forgot that Terunofuji exists. Like, we are here for Takanosho. We are here for everyone else in that Yusho race, which at this point was Takanosho, Aoyama, Sadanoumi, and Ichi Yamamoto. Terunofuji still technically 1 win behind, but, I mean, he lost 3 times. And unusually enough, which I guess is a reasonable take, but I thought was never really likely, a lot of people were saying that they were expecting an 11-4 Yusho, which was still possible at this point, because of course, who's going to have faith in Aoyama or Sadanoumi or Ichi Yamamoto to really go the distance? Takanosho, though, I was saying Takanosho could do it. I was saying Takanosho is probably going to be able to do it, and even if he doesn't, Terunofuji doesn't drop another match. Because look at his opponents are going to be a very weak Ozeki class. Like, sure, Terunofuji could drop another match from this point out, but I mean, he has to face the Sanyaku. The Sanyaku were very unimpressive this tournament, aside from Hoshoryu, which he kicks Hoshoryu's ass on the regular. I mean, come on. So, some people were saying it could be an 11-4 Yusho. Some people were saying, otherwise. I was the other some people. But here we have Terunofuji versus Tobizaru.
He may be a monkey, but he doesn't have long words.
Tobizaru is similar to Kiribayama in that he tries to fight men bigger than himself, but what Tobizaru does differently is that he tries to find the perfect counter to his opponent's style, or at the very least tries to probe them out in the middle of the match. If you remember the famous Hakuho versus Tobizaru match, where they kind of played handsies for a half an hour until Hakuho finally nabbed him and then threw him to the ground. He was playing, Ape Escape. He was trying to catch that monkey. Kind of similar here in that Tobizaru, he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none in his style, and even then he's not that good at the Oshi anyway. He mostly goes for hard slaps across the face. So what does he try to do against Terunofuji? Terunofuji catches him off the Tachiai. Tobizaru trying to pull away here, trying to go for straight charges to the chest, but Terunofuji just takes it. I even said it live during the match that Terunofuji is very patient. It's despite the fact that the match speed does look fast, there's not a lot going on. It's Terunofuji waiting, Tobizaru charging in, and then Terunofuji countering. Tobizaru getting lifted up. There's the Morozashi grip.
Terunofuji with the forklift.
And doesn't let Tobizaru fall out of the ring this time. He grounded the flying monkey completely. So, again, like I said, this match looks like there's a lot going on, but there really isn't, which is the complete opposite to a lot of matches where, they're just fighting for hands inside for a grip on the belt. And it's it doesn't look like there's much going on, but when they're wrestling wrist to wrist, hand to hand, that's very small technical stuff. This one, it's using broad brush strokes on a canvas. You're getting, it looks like a lot of action, but you're really just one brush stroke here. each brushstroke being a different charge from Tobizaru. Now, Tobizaru does kind of do what Takanosho did yesterday, where he is lower. He uses the elbow to block that inside or that outside grip on the belt. But this is where Terunofuji kind of adapts it, gets the grip around that arm. Now he has the outside right around the arm. Tobizaru locked into giving Terunofuji a big old bear hug. Tobizaru trying to pull the arm down, and he actually grabs his own hand here so he can pull himself away from Terunofuji's grip, which is kind of funny. Sorry about that artifacting there. Does manage to throw an elbow and push Terunofuji off of him. And this is where Terunofuji goes to pursue. Tobizaru takes a few steps backwards. And now from here, it's kind of just charge and catch, charge and catch. Trying to pull away now. Tobizaru going for the charge in, getting the head really low. But, I mean, Terunofuji looks like he should be wearing, like, catcher's gear. He's ready for this. He's got the hands low. He's ready to catch this monkey. And indeed he does. It happens again. He just catches Tobizaru. He keeps those arms wide and outside. That way he can maybe go for a grip on the belt or just adapt and block the inside should Tobizaru try to go for that as well. So, excuse me. So it's a good way to play it defensive and see what your opponent's going to do, which Tobizaru is very, very proactive in the ring. Even though he might seem slow sometimes, he is always looking for his in. And here, he's not really finding it. Like, Terunofuji, he's just a wall that he keeps bouncing off of. And here, Tobizaru does have an interesting hand right in here. And I'm using the wrong color for the opponents here. Does have an interesting hand right up in here. It looks like it might slip and go inside, but he's trying to push straight up into the rib cage here of Terunofuji. But Terunofuji just using this left shoulder, blocking, using that left arm inside to kind of just block what's going on there. Not really letting it happen. So how does Tobizaru react to this? Tries to get around the outside. Can't get a grip on the belt, which probably would have been okay for him. But now, distance created again. Terunofuji just, I mean, his footing is very, very stable. His back leg, front leg forward, ready for the attack. Back leg, back there for the stability. He's looking very good. Getting another catch right there. And this time he gets both of those hands around Tobizaru's arm. And this is where he goes for like one of those dangerous arm breaker throws, which, can hyperextend an elbow sometimes. But Tobizaru escapes from it, pulling away. Terunofuji on the pursuit here. Good shuffling forward. Nice step forward. But this time his hands go a little bit too wide. Like I mentioned earlier, he kept on having his arms low to catch Tobizaru. This time, it's too high. And in going for that outer grip, doesn't really work out. And now, Tobizaru trying to go for the inside. Terunofuji obviously blocking that. The pressure now. And now, trying to block it just a little bit better, but Tobizaru getting the double inside grip now. Pushing forward, Tobizaru. But again, even though he has the double grip on the belt, Terunofuji, all he needs to do is clamp this even harder inside. And what a lot of sumo wrestlers usually do is they'll grip their own hands and, pull, obviously. So they can get the leverage going either way, pull the arms inside, break the grip on the belt, straighten out the arms of Tobizaru, and then, that's going to be all she wrote. That's kind of exactly what happens here. Tobizaru actually is the one to lift his hands up off the belt first, trying to go all the way around the back, trying to get a lot more leverage than he already has, and that might have been the fatal mistake there, because now he loses the grip on that inside left he has underneath Terunofuji's right armpit, and that's going to make him lose the grip in just a little bit here. There it goes, and now Terunofuji full control, going for the lift out.
And there is nothing he can do about that.
So Tobizaru had a lot of good opportunities, but Terunofuji.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, I don't know why I'm so burpy right now.
He had better
Maybe the
luck
beef
and
stew is
tried
giving me
to
some gas.
dive
But anyway,
punch him
Terunofuji
away
just
at the very
much
start
better
of
on the
match,
defense than
and
Tobizaru was on the
never
attack,
grabbing
waiting for his
Terunofuji's
perfect moment to
belt.
strike, and then when he
A lot of
finally
people
found
think
it,
they can keep doing
lift
that.
out. Classic Terunofuji move.
With a very nice
Going into day 10, again, Terunofuji still kind of flying under the radar. Goes up against Whole Shoryu today, which would be probably his biggest challenge yet, other than the matches that he's lost already. But he's undefeated against Whole Shoryu. Let's be real. He is 7-0 after this tournament against Whole Shoryu, which, you know, we would love to see Whole Shoryu get a good upset, but not really, man. Not working out for you. Pardon me.
allows
So again, Whole Shoryu, similar to Kiribayama in that they try to fight like Chiyonofuji, but Whole Shoryu is bigger than Kiribayama. Not as big as Terunofuji though. Look at how massive this guy is. Like, jeez, dude.
take care of yourself, Glad. Come on now.
Terunofuji and Whole Shoryu at full speed. Let's see what happens
Who
here.
stays in the race for the Yusho? Current Yokozuna or future Yokozuna?
Terunofuji actually getting pushed back off the Tachi-ai there. Whole Shoryu has a favorable grip, but Terunofuji lifting him up in an awkward position. It's hard to tell if Whole Shoryu was trying to go for a throw, but just straight up couldn't get it because Terunofuji's grip was too strong. We can watch that again at full speed.
In the race for the Yusho.
But we can see Terunofuji's that outside right hand is a little awkward for him as Whole Shoryu goes for this. Because yeah, Terunofuji doesn't know what to do with that right hand. Because it's Whole Shoryu that goes outside left and initiates outside left. Terunofuji though, avoiding the throw attempts very well, just knowing to keep his legs untangled from Whole Shoryu's legs. And let's watch this step by step now. Again, we could see here, Whole Shoryu immediately going for that outside left. Just immediately going for this, which like confuses Terunofuji because he usually goes for that outside right, kind of searching whether to parry or go for the belt. But now it's inside, so it's like, uh-oh, shit, what do I do from here? So he tries to go for the outside, trying to break the grip. On the back foot now, realizing he needs to go inside, and he switches that immediately. He was outside, and then within a second, bam, inside. Inside left, or inside right, going for the belt because he needs that to stop Whole Shoryu. He realized, oh shit, Whole Shoryu has inside right, outside left. If I try to go double outside against this grip, because we could see how inside this right grip is in just a second, Terunofuji would not be able to Morozashi that away. He would not be able to break this grip on the belt right here. It would be quite difficult to. So to give up double inside from this position, especially when Whole Shoryu's left grip is around the back, to give up that inside grip would be very difficult to break from this position. So he does the smart thing. He goes for that inside, and even though he gives up a lot of ground, now he could start using this forearm to start pushing this up. He could start using the elbow to start breaking the grip, trying to get lower. Whole Shoryu nearly won straight off of this push. But Terunofuji, recognizing what's going wrong, smartly switches the grip to that inside right, and now this is where he goes head-to-head in the match, just trying to match it straight up. Whole Shoryu, realizing what Terunofuji is trying to do, tries to go for the pull, tries to stay on the offensive by going for this pull and throw. But Terunofuji, I mean, I say it so many times, look at the man's footing. Solid, solid. He's moving this forward. He's moving these feet forward. He's going to be on the pursuit. And we can see here too, like, at the same time that Whole Shoryu is probably trying to go for this throw, you can see that left leg is going inside, trying to hook around Terunofuji so he can pop him up and go for the Kake Nage. But, well, at this point, it wouldn't really be a Kake Nage. unless he let go of this side, which smartly Hoshoryu does not, because he knows that Terunofuji is going to be on the pursuit. We could see even Terunofuji, that small kickback. He was stepping forward, but then he goes whoop, kicks it back. He does not let his leg get caught up by Hoshoryu right there. So from here, now it's this is very clearly Terunofuji on the push, lifting up Hoshoryu. Hoshoryu still trying to get this inside leg so he can go for the throw here, and boop, just plants that foot, not letting Hoshoryu get any leverage on it. Still pushing forward, body really nice and square, like just a wall of flesh meat pushing forward at you. Like, what are you supposed to do about this? Hoshoryu trying to counter with another throw right there, and actually almost gets it. Look at how high Terunofuji's leg goes, but Hoshoryu doesn't look like he had the power to finish it off. And I mean, with his legs also in a very awkward position like this, it's very understandable why he wasn't able to finish it off. So, lift it up at the last second. Hoshoryu not able to get the finish. And I kind of forgot that I wanted to dual stream this to YouTube at the same time so I wouldn't have to re-upload the VOD, but that's perfectly fine.
And it is not working out for him. 6-4 for him. The Yokozuna 7-3.
Next match, day 11. Day 11, he is going up against Abi, who is trying to make this into a rivalry, but it just kind of isn't working out for him. Let's see. Abi, 5-5 on the tournament. A lot of people are saying he is back where he belongs and performing as expected, so can't really be upset about him for it. Terunofuji versus Abi. One of the last times they fought, I mean, the sample size is small. It's only 3 times. Last time they fought, it was Terunofuji for the win, but the time before that, it was quite exciting with Abi for the win. This time, though, we're going to see... Well, actually, no, this time was Terunofuji. That's my bad. Before they fought this, it was 1-1, and Abi was the last one to win, so people were excited for a potential upset, but Abi
Terunofuji recovers immediately,
countered.
not letting Abi get his usual Oshizumo and winning in dominant fashion.
It seems Terunofuji has learned against the likes of Daisho. Let's see what's different here.
Another
left foot. Oh, he actually doesn't bring the left foot forward, and he actually put both of those hands inside to go for a big parry. So let's see that again, slowly now. Right there. Big parry. He doesn't bring that left foot very far forward like he usually does. Like, usually he's stepping up to here. He keeps his feet back so he can go and swing his entire body up, and his arms go up to completely parry the initial assault of Abi. And when this happens, Abi is, I mean, this is usually what he likes, the position he likes to be in the first place. But from here, Terunofuji has enough space where you could see he pulls back that shoulder, swings it around, and then boom, it's going to go for another parry right here. And boom. He doesn't get the grip on the belt, but he completely stops Abi. And when Abi gets stopped, his next option, or his last resort is to pull. Which, from the middle of the ring, that's not going to happen, bub. Abi trying to go for the pull at this point, which just means now it's time for Terunofuji to move forward. And Terunofuji gets the Oshidashi. Like, this was a pure defensive effort off the Tachi. And from there, Abi, doing his usual thing, knows either push forward or pull back. And when that initial charge forward was completely parried, boom, parry, push forward, win.
Recovers immediately, not letting Abi get his usual
a 2-second match,
and winning in dominant,
but a lot of defense, a lot of knowledge, a lot of prep for this match for Terunofuji.
Give away another
parry, boom. Stops that hand from coming back to his face. swings that right shoulder down so he can catch, he even catches Abi right in the face too. Excuse me. And then from here,
a great charge in, but
Abi
Terunofuji
just has nothing, has no offense.
Abi get his usual Oshizumo and winning in dominant fashion. So now the Yusho Arasoi is as follows.
Coming into day 12, the Yusho race was getting thinner and thinner. Takanosho was still in front, and, you know, statistically speaking, it was likely to be his, considering his final opponents were largely on the weaker side. Or rather, weaker than the opponents he had already fought. So it really was up to him to throw it all away, which he did, but we're not talking about Takanosho. We're talking about Terunofuji. And we're talking about how he was one win behind the race almost the entire time.
Alright, we got the back charge. We're stealing from Midnight Sumo.
Had to get the backup stream online. So here we have Wakataka Kage versus Terunofuji. Again, Wakataka Kage, Kiribayama, Hoshoryu, Tobizaru, they're kind of all in the same class of small but hard fighters. Wakataka Kage, a very hard fighter. Still only 8-2 in the head-to-head by this point. And one of those wins was a Fusensho. So really, Wakataka Kage has only defeated the Yokozuna once. So, at this point, like, what the hell is happening? Terunofuji just bigger than these guys. Like, sure, these guys might be good at the Yotsuzumo, but Terunofuji is just stronger than they are. So when you go head-to-head, it's not going to work. What happens here? Wakataka versus Terunofuji. Terunofuji gets that right hand inside, goes for the Morozashi there, goes for the throw. Wakataka actually gets a good fight in. And now they've stalled out in the middle of the ring, and Wakataka locking in that inside left on the belt. Terunofuji trying to block that. You can see him trying to throw that forearm forward. Wakataka lost the grip for just a second. Now this has actually gotten into a more interesting match. Although because Terunofuji is so wide, Wakataka's arms are already kind of straightened, just trying to get the grip on the belt. So this is a more favorable position to be in for Terunofuji, if I had to say so. Pause for a little bit here, but Terunofuji gets the forklift. And there it is.
The Tawada for the win.
Warriors won. Very nice. Are they going to the finals? Let's see. But breaking this down step by step, we see the usual Tachi from Terunofuji. He gets that right hand inside. He gets that left foot forward. Seems pretty standard. Oh, you're in the finals. Okay. Good luck, my man. Yeah, it's a standard start for Terunofuji here. And then we can see he actually fights for the outside right. Like, he knows exactly what he wants to go for here. He knows he wants the double outside against this smaller Yotsuzumo guy that he usually gets double outsides against. And here, like, I'm surprised he didn't win off of this charge right here. Like, look at this fat grip. Like, oh my god. Like, this just looks good for Terunofuji. But then you see Wakataka Kage is actually getting the push chest to chest. Wakataka Kage actually has some leverage there. Wakataka Kage's stance is slightly wider. Although Terunofuji in general is just wider. So Wakataka has the leverage here. And, oh, jeez. Quality is so much worse than usual. Wakataka trying to go down for the pull, and this is where Terunofuji tries to go for the throw. So Terunofuji trying to go for the throw here is more unusual, because usually he just stands up straight, catches the Yotsu guy, and then just walks it forward for the win. But the fact that he's going for the throw here means that he was probably in danger. Like, it means Wakataka probably does have the strength to push him back. So Terunofuji, calling an audible in the middle of the ring, goes for the throw. And Wakataka swings those hips around. You can see him. He was going this way, but then swung that hip around, re-squares his body, and now Terunofuji has to go for it again, which he kind of does, but Wakataka blocked with this right thigh right here, and now Wakataka's on the push forward, which what Wakataka is trying to do is he's trying to go like push high and then pull low and then push high to try to rock Terunofuji off balance. But Terunofuji, he's leaning forward. Like, look at his footing. He's leaning forward right here. He's stable. He expects this because he goes up against smaller guys like this all the time. So he knows exactly what to expect in this match. Now, this is also a really cool spot right here. These two hands fighting inside right here. Wakataka and Terunofuji trying to go for this right in here in the middle. Wakataka does get that inside left on the belt. But again, Terunofuji just wants to break that grip. He still hasn't broken the grip with this outside left, but we can see he's locked his own hands together. Right up in here, he's holding his hands together. So he's trying to lock the Wakataka Kage arm into a very awkward spot. And now Wakataka's like main leverage is going to be from this underneath grip, which he can use to pull himself up into the chest. But like, look at how far forward Terunofuji is leaning. Look at how he's gripped himself. Look at his stance. Like, he does not look like he is about to be moved backwards in the slightest.
Kage maintains a grip on the double.
And it's actually Terunofuji to go on the push first, bringing up that belly, breaking the grip on that outside left. That inside right that Wakataka Kage regains. He does not break the grip on that inside, which kind of wouldn't have been his aim anyway, because he's the one that brought his hips forward and would have been forfeiting that in the first place. So I think that was just to try to stand up Wakataka, to try to get him to lose the grip on the belt, which he did, but only temporarily. So now Terunofuji, you could see him lets go of himself to try to use his forearm to swing it out and break this grip, which you could see right here. Wakataka, there's a little bit of space right there. Wakataka's losing the grip on that inside.
To go for the push, trying to break that double inside grip now.
Wakataka relinquishes the grip himself on that outside, and that's at the same moment Terunofuji goes for the nice push forward. Terunofuji now locking in a more comfortable Morozashi here. We can see Wakataka does have that double inside, but it's kind of at this moment that even though Wakataka is resisting, it is a lot of danger for him, because this is where Terunofuji is comfortable in this exact matchup.
For yet another push here, Terunofuji.
So from this point, Wakataka Kage, like, what can he do to win? Well, he needs a better push forward. How can he do that when Terunofuji has properly stood him up? Because even though we can't see him, we could see the arms. Terunofuji's arms are shaped in the usual way. That means Wakataka Kage is being stood up right now. The pressure is going up. Wakataka Kage might have his head in the chest right here, but his shoulders are being raised. He's slowly being brought up. And from there, after slowly being stood up, Terunofuji just goes for the forklift.
Still standing strong against it.
It's a bit of a stalemate here, though. But we will see momentarily that Terunofuji eventually just gets the lift up. There it is.
Kage getting lifted up. Terunofuji picking him up and over the Tawada for the win.
The usual way that Terunofuji gets the win. Coming into day 13 now. This is where things got very exciting, because Takanosho actually lost his match to Wakataka Kage, and the race was on. Terunofuji was back in it alongside Sadano Umi.
Facing Terunofuji tomorrow.
Let's see now. Terunofuji versus Takakeisho. This is quite the rivalry between them, because they already have a handful of playoffs for Yusho between these two. So a nice hot rivalry. 5, or rather 6-4 in the head-to-head, but 5-4 if you don't count this match here.
To become a Yokozuna.
Now, Takakeisho, obvious struggling Ozeki. It seems like he's trying a more conservative style so he doesn't hurt himself, which is probably why he was struggling. But we can get into the specifics of that another time. Right now, Terunofuji just needs to defeat the Ozeki that he has already defeated many times. But like I said, they do have a very healthy rivalry between them.
Takakeisho already down.
Takakeisho trying to immediately go for the pull, but now instead of going for those recharge,
Terunofuji goes for the clap in front of
goes for the Nekodamashi. Doesn't really work there. And like I said, Takakeisho not really going for those recharges, allowing Terunofuji to kind of control him while trying to use those short dinosaur T-Rex arms to be chaotic on the inside. Like, let's look here. Terunofuji, not as big of a step forward with the left foot. Right foot kind of gets blocked again by the entire shoulder of Takakeisho. Takakeisho goes so low that the shoulder, bicep, elbow blocks the entire right arm from Terunofuji. So now Terunofuji trying to get a grip there. Immediately right off the Tachi-ai, Takakeisho goes for the pull down attempt, the pull back slap down attempt. Terunofuji nearly loses himself here because look at this angle. Like, Takakeisho squared this way on the attack, on the push forward, and you have to wonder, like, being completely caught off guard, how does Terunofuji ever hope to recover from this? And he does that just by sliding that left hand inside onto the belt. In a nice smooth motion, he just swings his shoulder, swings his hip, puts that left hand inside, and completely stops the momentum of Takakeisho. Now, that does kind of call into question how much of full strength was Takakeisho at this tournament that he didn't try to go for, his usual charges into recharges. But, that's not really a question we can answer. We just have to analyze the match in front of us. So the fact that Takakeisho is lacking in power here obviously plays to Terunofuji's advantage because he's able to recover, and now Takakeisho is going for that hand to the face from the middle of the ring, the one that Terunofuji seems to be weak to, but it's not really doing much of anything. Terunofuji just kind of withstanding the attack here. Takakeisho trying to go low for the recharge, but Terunofuji uses those forearms to block the charge. You can see it right there. Using the forearms to block the charge. Takakeisho trying to, spin him and pull him down again. Trying to stay on Terunofuji's side to attack him from the side. And this is actually, kind of working. Look at the poor footing from Terunofuji. He has to keep swinging himself around. He has to keep swinging his hips and his shoulders around. So he is, kind of on the back foot here. If Takakeisho had continued to come, around the circle and tried to attack from the side, then maybe he would have had a better offense here. But Takakeisho, very sluggish in his own right, which allows Terunofuji to keep up with the attack. And from here, we're going to see something you don't usually see, the Nekodamashi, which completely does nothing. Like, Terunofuji is just 100% unfazed by that, because the idea is you clap in their face, you get them to like recoil or blink or something so then you can attack. It just literally did nothing. The move had no effect. You missed. Like you threw the flashbang the other way. So now, going on the recharge, Takakeisho is going straight into the chest. Terunofuji catching him. Terunofuji actually on the retreat though, so that must have been a stronger charge, but we can see Terunofuji does have some good blocking hands. Like, he does have hands up and inside. This one is around the outside, which does kind of stifle Takakeisho's attacks because now Takakeisho's opted to stay in, which Takakeisho doesn't really like to do because he likes to pull back and attack and pull back and attack, but now he's kind of being wrangled in. Like, the way Terunofuji is fighting, he's kind of containing Takakeisho here, which I mean, it looks like Takakeisho is doing well. Going for another pullback into a slapdown, not working. Terunofuji catching him yet again. Terunofuji now, this is where he pretty much wins it though, because he gets that shoulder underneath the arm of Takakeisho. Takakeisho reeling backwards has nothing to do. So, Terunofuji with the win. And again, I think this was a more of a lacking Takakeisho, which is probably why Terunofuji had an easier time. But, I mean, a win is a win. Terunofuji gets the win. Now we're going to see Terunofuji versus Shodai. We did get a little... Shodai, also struggling massively, finally being exposed. Oh, pardon me. I am going to be going to bed after these last few matches because I am quite tired. I had a very long weekend and a nice relaxing midweek ahead of me. But Terunofuji versus Shodai. Terunofuji getting the catch on Shodai, pushing forward and just driving him out of the ring.
Does not get defeated by Super Shodai in contention.
Even the Gyoji tried to help out Shodai there, getting in his way.
Excuse me. Yeah, we can watch it full speed again. What happens here? Shodai doesn't really mount an offense. Immediately on the retreat, Terunofuji with the stronger push. Terunofuji gets the usual Tachi-ai here. You know, right hand outside, left foot forward. He's got a really nice drive here, too. Like, look at the angle he's at. He's got a really nice angle just going into the chest. Yeah, I do plan on having Kongo back in the future. Fun Patrick. I wanted to mix it up, too, with, like, different guest commentators midweek, but I was way too slow to try to organize that thing. But we will have Kongo back on the weekends at the very least. But here, Terunofuji just has the better Tachi-ai, the better, you know, inside left, outside right. Everything is, you know, coming up Terunofuji here. Shodai, that inside left being completely locked. You did do a decent job. You could commentate. Shodai, his inside left being completely blocked. Terunofuji on the push forward from here. Like, Shodai, he's the one to initiate the pullback, but Terunofuji, he's just too good against the pullback attacks because he's not letting himself get dragged down. He's shuffling forward. He's taking those small steps forward in pursuit and gets the win. So, just an unimpressive win here. And then, of course, day 15... one of the most flaccid Yusho I have ever seen, at the very least.
Fuji versus Amita. Just a spread of belt.
So fun. It is so fun.
Here we go. So, you know, despite the fact that the ending of this tournament was quite flaccid compared to the excitement initially, you know, we can say at the very least that Terunofuji was as solid as he usually is. You know, he did give up a couple of his matches. He did, you know, show signs of weakness as he usually does, but, you know, he's not Hakuho. We were spoiled by Hakuho. He's not perfect. He's not going to be Mr. Perfect. I doubt he's going to get another, like, 15-0. Like, as long as there is Daisho and Tamawashi and possibly Takanosho, and, well, any of these Ozeki could technically take a match off of him because they don't have very unfavorable head-to-heads. Like we just said, Takakeisho, it's almost dead even. Shodai, it's 10-4. Mitakeyumi, you know, a little worse at 13-4, but it's still, you know, like, Terunofuji does have his weaknesses and he does have his bad days, but this time around, you know, a solid 12-3 Yusho. You know, way down the line in history, this is probably going to be remembered as one of the more, you know, run-of-the-mill basho where nothing super exciting happened, especially if you look at the final results, you know. 3 people for the Jun Yusho. Yokozuna Yusho. Like, if anything, people are going to remember how shitty the Ozeki were. Like, in history, this is going to be, oh, yeah, look, Yokozuna won again. Wow, who would have guessed it? Which it is kind of a shame because of how exciting it was, during the middle of the tournament, not knowing who's going to win, not knowing who's, going to stay on top for that much longer. But then at the very end, it's Terunofuji. It's the Yokozuna. Coin flip depending on whether Saturn is in retrograde or some shit. I do think, because I said this during the tournament, I knew for a fact Takayumi, he was going to show his inconsistency again. And it happened this tournament. One could argue that Takakeisho was on the weaker side this tournament because he was experimenting with a more conservative style, which I'm all for. Either that or he's not like 100%. And if he's not 100% at this tournament, then he's never going to be 100%. Like ever again, I don't think. And he's going to be mediocre from here on out, which is going to be really unfortunate for him. Shodai, though, you're completely right. He's coin flip. He's a complete coin flip. Like, I would not be surprised if Shodai goes 15-0 the next tournament. Okay, I would be a little surprised, but like, you know what I mean. It wouldn't shock me. But here we are in the final match. Terunofuji, like, it's all on him because Takanosho needed to win his match against Sadano Umi, which surprisingly, Sadano Umi has the edge in that head-to-head, 5-4. You kind of wouldn't expect that. You also wouldn't have expected Sadano Umi to Jun Yusho, but Takanosho needed to win his match to stay in the race and then force a playoff, should Terunofuji win. He didn't, so now the stakes were if Terunofuji loses, there's a 4-way playoff, including Daisho, Takanosho, and Sadano Umi. And that did not happen. And it is going to be an incredibly flaccid victory for Terunofuji here because it is Tachi-ai, get inside, grab the belt, Takayumi just pushed back.
Yusho for Terunofuji.
Takayumi just did not stand a chance.
For Takanosho, Sadano Umi, or Daisho. Terunofuji putting a fist down. Takayumi getting the inside, but he gets pushed back. A very bad position for him, and that is the Yusho for Terunofuji.
That was a very unenthusiastic casting on my part too. Can't say I was very excited about that win. This is definitely not going to be one of those highlight Yusho that I put in my opening reel, like the Wakataka Kage Yusho. But I mean, breaking it down step by step, Takayumi meets Terunofuji at the Tachi-ai. This time, big front left foot forward. Terunofuji's hand was aiming inside, but Takayumi actually blocks it with that inside left elbow, which that might be a theme we see in the future. If some of these sumo wrestlers watch my game film and some of these sumo wrestlers, watch my videos, they might start being like, maybe I should go left more inside against Terunofuji because he likes trying to float that right hand as either a parry or, it seems to be more like a parry because we haven't seen him go for that outside right grip at all. So I think if more sumo wrestlers adapted to put the elbow down inside so he doesn't get his own right hand to go where he wants it to, then I think we might see Terunofuji struggle a bit more. But even here, despite that, Terunofuji raises this right forearm, and now he's the one putting Takayumi in an uncomfortable spot because Takayumi threw the forearm forward, but he didn't throw the elbow down far enough. So now his forearm is getting caught by Terunofuji here, which is bad. Now creating some distance, that's actually initiated by Terunofuji getting low. Terunofuji was the one to take that hop backwards, get low, and then try to drive inside here. You can see he has the grip on the elbow right here. And Takayumi, we can't really see what's going on over here, but I have to imagine that Terunofuji has the grip on the inside left, and he's just getting into the stance to try to get a better grip on the outside right, which is exactly what he does. Because you could see like in that moment, he threw himself back, pulled his hips back, put his foot back, had the hand on the elbow, pulled Mitakeumi in, and then he jumps forward immediately. Everything goes forward, gets the grip on the belt, and that's it. Right there. Like, that was an incredibly slow and swift motion. Like, I wish I could go back by only like 2 seconds, but I have to go back in chunks of 10 seconds.
Oh, of course.
Try to watch that at full speed.
Here we go, though.
He pulls himself back and then pulls Mitakeumi back right there.
Mitakeumi getting the inside.
You almost can't even see it.
Position for him, and that is the Yusho. Down and ready. Terunofuji putting a fist.
Pulls himself back, has the hand on the elbow, pulls Mitakeumi in so he can get the grip on the belt. Within a split second, you literally blink and you miss that. That is the winning move right there for Terunofuji. Pulls in Mitakeumi so he can get the grip on the belt, and then from here, it's a rodeo. Mitakeumi just straight up stands no chance. It's double inside for Terunofuji. First of all, how do you let Terunofuji get double inside? Second of all, how are you going to fight against double inside Terunofuji? Like, come on, man. A very good match. Like, this was just very, very, very solid sumo. Very good sumo. And although very is not the best descriptive word, it was just amazing sumo by Terunofuji right there. You know, to end the tournament. Like they say, dreams crushed. Not even close, baby. Easy clap.
NHK News wins.
We don't get a 4-way playoff, so NHK News is able to go as it usually does. And, well, that is how it ends. Terunofuji gets his 7th Yusho. And, I mean, you know, after analyzing these matches, none of them were particularly exciting. It was just Terunofuji doing his thing, and it just so happens that his thing is winning. So, can't really be disappointed by that performance. 12-3 is obviously a very good winning record, and again, looking back at this basho, it's probably going to be seen as, you know, just another Yokozuna doing his job, getting that dub. And even if we look back on Terunofuji, like, he was injured the last tournament, so coming back even stronger in this one, you know, that's a good look for him. Although, stronger, air quotes. His last completed tournament, he went 11-4, injured in March. May, 12-3. His Zensho Yusho came in November, and in July he went 14-1. And we know what happened last July. And we know who he lost to last July. So do you think that this upcoming July is going to be just as exciting for Terunofuji? I really hope so, because that would be a slick birthday. So, for those of you watching on the VOD, this is going to be the end of it. Next week, I will be covering some of the June Yusho winners of this tournament. Mainly Takanosho, probably Daisho, and then Sadano Umi, if I feel like it. I mean, of course I don't want to downplay his performance, but also considering most of his matches were against lower end of the division guys, like, you could say that his wins were less impressive, but hey, wins are wins. We will get to them when we get to them. It all depends on what the rest of my schedule looks like. So if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to look forward to the next one where we will cover Takanosho in his June Yusho 11-4, where he all lets it slip out of his fingers in the final 3 days. And as for also you guys on YouTube, be sure to look forward to the next basho here on my channel, where I will be streaming the basho live with some of my English commentary, and you won't be seeing any of these bells and whistles that you see on the screen. It's just going to be the raw feed with my speaking, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that, and if you don't like that, then there are a lot of other options to watch. Princess in ruins at this Takanosho collapse. I know, she was so sad. But, you know, that is the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.